This podcast is produced by Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency. The Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast, focuses on inspiring you through stories of those we've helped through our programming or by linking local resources to community members in need. Join us as we learn about the programs offered through NMCAA and how we touch people's lives every day. Welcome back to the Collective Us, an NMCAA podcast. I'm Erica Austin.
And I'm Ryan Buck. Today, we're jumping into a topic that most can relate to, a stress of a particular kind, holiday stress.
Absolutely, but we're not doing that alone. We have a guest with us today.
We have Abbie Byers, who is a family engagement specialist, or FES, from NMCAA's Child and Family Development Team. Welcome to the studio. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
Before we dive in, can you give us a little insight in what your day-to-day job duties include at NMCAA?
Our job as a family engagement specialist is really broad. We do home visits, so we go into the homes with the families or meet them at the classrooms. We spend a lot of time in the classroom. We plan family events, parent workshops that are based around our parenting curriculum, and basically just provide any community resources that are in our areas.
Lots of supporting of the family.
Yes.
That's
and
great.
Home visits.
Yeah.
So that's a topic that comes up a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and what way to engage and what a sensitive topic to broach, which is really amazing. So when you think about the holidays, it's not just about gifts and money. We were just talking about, what you see on the day-to-day. Stress can come from difficult family dynamics. Can you explain kind of how you see that in your purview around this time?
Around this time, family dynamics do play a really big part in stress. A lot of our families don't have supports in the areas, or maybe the supports that they do have are a little bit more negative. So getting together with family can sometimes cause more stress than it does support. And some of our families are here with no other family. So it's just them, and they're trying to make it.
Yeah.
What are the type of things that are you hearing, verbally from people specifically who don't have family in the area? Are there things that are consistent concerns that they have, stressors that they have?
A lot of it is just about connection. A lot of our families that we work with are in need of some connection because it is hard to do it by yourself.
Mm-hmm. It takes a village, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't have that village.
Yeah.
So they have to go to outside resources to kind of help create their own village. If they don't have family support or any friends in the area, a part of my job is to try to help connect them with community resources. So parent groups or play groups for the children. We do our family events to try to get parents, that time to come out and do something fun with their child that is free, because we know how expensive it can be to take your kid to anything at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the playgrounds, some playgrounds cost money now. So
Yeah.
we try to do things that are really fun, really interesting for the whole family. And also we kind of put in some of our parenting curriculum with that to try to educate a little bit with that.
Yeah.
Taking care and meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
Can you, and not to get too basic about things, but when you talk about loneliness, and this is just me discovering this in the moment, it can maybe be a person, but it can be a family who is here alone.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Can you maybe talk about what the people we're talking about, what that looks like?
Yeah, so I was talking with a coworker earlier today, and she brought up something really, really useful, especially the holiday season. We're in northern Michigan. We have snow.
Mm-hmm.
Just not even having the support to go out and shovel your own driveway and have somebody to take care of the baby. A lot of single parents, we have to have that. You have to have that village, and if you don't have that, it's really hard to even do things like, how am I going to get out of my driveway today? Because I have 3 kids, and none of them nap at the same time.
Right.
And I have to spend an hour shoveling my car out so I can get anywhere.
Yeah, I feel you on that.
You are nodding really hardcore. You get it.
I am. I totally get it. I worked all day yesterday, and my husband was home with the kids. And when I got home, it was almost dark already. And he was like, great, you're home. You can watch the kids. I need to go snowblow our driveway.
Right.
And it took him a while because we have a long two-track type driveway. So, he was out there until kids were already in bed. But yeah, he couldn't go do it because all of our kids were at home with him and he was, alone all day. So yeah, I totally understand that. I can't imagine as a single parent how that could be more difficult.
Yeah. Or trying to make it to a food pantry at a specific time. They're only open on Tuesdays from 3 to 6.
Right.
How am I going to load up all my kids in the car? Maybe I do have a partner, but they're at work.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't miss work to come help me with this. I have to load all my kids up. I have to take them all to the food pantry. If I get stuck in my driveway and I don't have that support, who do I call? Or if I just have something else going on, appointments, things like that, I may not be able to make it. And then what do I do for food?
Yeah. Wow. These are all really important, topics. That kind of leads us into today's topic. And in preparation for the show, I asked you for your best holiday stress tip. And you said, basically, in a simple term, meet yourself where you're at. Can you tell us more about what that means and what you meant by that?
Yeah. A lot of times we see things on social media or on TV that portray holidays as this elaborate, just house is spotless and the presents are piling higher than the tree.
Yeah.
And it's just not always realistic that way. So meeting yourself where you're at. If you're trying to host a holiday party and you didn't mop your floors, that's okay.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to worry about that. And the same thing with hosting. You don't have to host. If you're not in a position to do that, don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Host your own family and don't worry about trying to get the in-laws and the cousins and everybody to come over. And the same way with making it to every holiday event.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of worrying about, wow, I have 4 Christmas parties that I'm supposed to make it to and my car is broken down, make your own traditions.
Yeah.
Kind of spend that time where you can spend that time and make those important memories where you can and not where you think that you should have to.
Yeah, setting some boundaries for yourself too,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, expectations, you talked about, it doesn't just come from social media. It's been ingrained in the culture for a long time. You look at Miracle on 34th Street and every house is perfect and things like that. But I'm really fascinated by something you said. And I think you can rise to this challenge. Don't worry about your floors. I love that. But there are some people who cannot get over it because Aunt so-and-so sneers at the dirty floor. So what's the next level? For somebody who's just on the fence there, how do you really not worry about that dirty floor? Maybe in the invite, be like, I may have missed the floors. I mean, what's a good practical advice to the floor warrior?
Maybe lower the expectations for the guests.
Because I may live with one of those.
Lowering your own expectations and prioritizing, I would say. If the floors are going to be something that is going to make your holiday more stressful if they're not done, then do them. But take a break somewhere else.
Right.
Don't worry
That's
about,
a great point.
Yeah.
Maybe you worry about the floors, but you don't worry about cooking every part of the big meal.
Yeah.
You worry about cooking one part and you ask your family to bring
I love that.
things in, and that can help financially and mentally.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Beautiful.
And make people feel a part if they want to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And food's a great way to do that.
Yeah.
So the holidays are supposed to be this magical time, but for a lot of people, obviously it brings up some tension. Why do family gatherings often get so stressful? Is it, like we kind of mentioned, the heightened expectations?
Yeah, do you clean your floors for your friends? Maybe not. I never did over the years, so...
We talk a lot about floors, but I think that for a lot of the families that we are working with in our communities, it's not even the floors. It's that a lot of them don't even have a stable place to live. And I think that that's a bigger stressor. I think that, yes, if you have that ability to have family over for holidays, do it and do it in a way that keeps you sane. But if you're not in a place to do that, then again, meet yourself where you're at. If you're still working on finding a place to rent, don't worry about trying to also host.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe push that off of your plate and have another family member try to do it.
Yeah.
That's a point well taken. I think that bears just thinking about for a second because a lot of people do take on too much.
Mm-hmm.
And that being one of them. And I know some people who probably would, while still trying to lock it down, try to make that thing happen. So
Mm-hmm. just
Great point.
taking on too much. So part of your role as a family engagement specialist is workshops, family engagements. You already mentioned that. Can you tell us a little bit more about these and how some of our families that attend these throughout the year may benefit and gather some skills maybe that they're throughout the year that might help towards some of these family gatherings?
Yeah, we use a parenting curriculum called Your Journey Together, and it's all resilience-based and strength-based. So it focuses on what can you do to take care of yourself and to help teach your child to have some resilience and also be able to handle things that are stressful when they come at them. So a lot of our events, we focus around that. We do your child's strengths. We do how to learn how to bounce back from things. We also just do a lot of, helpful workshops. So this year we made our own laundry soap, make and take laundry soap, and parents that came to the workshop got to take that home and didn't have to worry about buying laundry soap.
Maybe a homemade DIY gift as well.
I was thinking that's exactly right where
Yeah.
you're going, but what a great, and these are all classes and resources that can be found on the website. What's the best place to be aware of what's going on too, as we talk about this?
So we do try to partner with some community partners. We will work with Great Start on some things, and we are connected with our Early Head Start as well. But majority of it is for our Head Start families.
Okay.
And each county is so different.
Yeah.
So we may have done a laundry workshop up in the Petoskey area, and they may have done a make and take chili down in Missaukee.
Sure.
So it really depends on the county that you're in and where that connection is.
Yeah.
What would you say to families who, are engaged but aren't attending events that are stopping them? What would you say to families who are just on the fence about attending events?
I would say just come and try it out. We're usually pretty welcoming, and I guess I would just tell them that it's a good time to come and meet other people.
Right.
Are the family engagement workshops and engagement nights, are those a requirement of Head Start families to attend?
No, they're
not.
all
An added benefit.
yes, an
Yeah.
added
Yeah.
benefit.
Yeah, great way to put that. Yeah.
And how do you go about designing curriculum for this as you're looking, what kind of classes? Are you getting feedback from the community? And do you ever use data in putting some of these classes together in some of these frameworks?
We do. So we, at the very beginning of every year, we ask our parents what they want to do. We ask them if there's anything that they're interested in learning about. So we've had parents that are interested in our budget counseling program. And so we'll make sure that we do a parent workshop based around budget counseling. We've also had parents that were interested in suicide prevention, and we've done suicide prevention workshops. Pretty much anything that a parent is interested in doing
Wow.
for a workshop, we can make it happen.
That's really interesting. You open the door to that kind of feedback. It's really fantastic. And to hear something like suicide prevention come up, to know that that's on the minds of parents is staggering. So to try to get ahead of that is really wonderful. Do you collect any data from any of these workshops, from any surveys that you do to inform other decisions or inform other departments even?
We could, but every year is so different.
Yeah.
We have different parents every year and different families, and there are different struggles and different wants every single year. It's mostly on a year-to-year basis on what our families are going to be interested in.
Well, that's a pretty telling answer in and of itself.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me, I know you've said this a ton on the show, Ryan, is it's an individualized service, right? But these aren't just necessarily
Yeah.
individual, but as a community, what are your wants and needs and how can we provide that for you? So I think that's
Yeah.
a really interesting take on that individual
Yeah.
by county type thing, or
Right.
by
And whatever it
region.
takes.
Yeah.
Does anything ever come up that's kind of a wild card that parents ask about? And I don't know if we get my kid off video games.
I haven't had that one, but we do have a lot of challenging behaviors.
Yeah,
Parents
okay,
want
so
some tips and
adjacent.
tricks on that, or tips and tricks on potty training.
Oh, sure.
I could use those.
Yeah, me too.
Anytime, right.
Yeah, we have a lot of parents that are interested in that. And
Yeah.
so if we don't have the time to do a workshop specific to that,
Yeah.
or an engagement specific to that, we will try to find outside resources.
Yeah.
Right.
And I send a lot of webinars and paper resources out to my parents.
Yeah, very cool.
In a lot of the skills that you're giving to these families, you've talked a lot about setting boundaries which to some people, it may not be their natural state. That may be hard for them. And saying no to somebody can be very difficult, especially family. And it can be really tough when it's maybe budgetary. So do you have any tips for anybody in how to start those communications? Anything you've heard from clients who've had success in saying no, or advice that you would give in approaching these types of things?
For saying no is that it takes practice. So maybe starting out small and saying no to small things.
Like a unexpected Santa gift exchange or something, right?
Right.
Like, I'm not going to take part this year.
And you don't mean like taking practice in the bathroom mirror with yourself.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
You could.
Maybe.
You just have to.
I'm thinking
Send a
more
sample
starting.
email, try, like literally,
Yeah.
like when you practice winter driving in the parking lot of the Meijer at night, practice saying no.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Practice saying no to events that you're being invited to that you don't want to go to, and doing it without a reason, without giving that I can't because I have
Can you
this
expand
other
on that
thing.
a little bit?
I would say that there's a holiday gift exchange that I don't want to go to.
Okay.
Just saying, no, I'm not going to be able to make it. Instead of saying and coming up with some reason that may or may not be true, to stop having to give it that excuse for yourself and just getting used to just saying, it's not for me this time.
Yeah, that's
isn't
great advice.
Well, I don't know why that's so staggering, but why are we so inclined to be like, no? Because, and many times, full disclosure, that excuse is not true.
Right.
Right.
But we do it anyway.
We feel like we need to give that because we owe that person a reason why, and we don't.
Yeah.
This is something.
I think I just learned something
This
about
is
myself.
a free show. Anybody can listen to this.
Yeah.
Wow. That was the idea of practicing maybe started out flippantly, and I meant that. I know people, I think we all know people who boundaries are tough for them. They see boundaries as not welcoming, as a flaw in their characters. So thank you for that. That's a really.
Yeah. I think it's important though too, with saying no is like, you're also helping keep yourself, you're setting boundaries for yourself, but you're also keeping yourself like, gosh, I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of. You got to keep your best self in check, right? Like you got to do what's best for you.
That is true. Well, meeting yourself where you are.
Yeah.
And
right
saying no
And
may
for
be
you-
a perfect way to do that.
For you and your family, especially families with children, if you know that taking your 3 kids over to Aunt Susie's house is going to be chaotic and your kids aren't going to nap and nobody's going to have a good time,
Yeah.
then it's okay not to do that.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a mom, I'm definitely planning my days around
And
nap time.
the embarrassment of maybe not being able to, on the gift side or on the other side, food even. Some people stress about, maybe just having to put Kraft macaroni and cheese out and other things that maybe they make up, or like you said, TV or social media tells you should worry about.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times the kids don't care about that. The kids would probably prefer Kraft mac and cheese over a brisket or,
True.
They would, they'd be
how many
okay
times are you
with that.
forcing your kid to eat this thing you just spent 3 hours
They
on?
have no idea what
They
it
don't
is
like
because
it.
it's never been on their plate before.
Yeah, and they're not going to remember that.
Right.
They're not going to remember when they're 4 or 5, 6 years old that, that one time we had mac and cheese.
Yeah.
They're just going to be happy they had dinner, and
Right.
it's the other things that you can do around that.
Yeah.
Playing outside in the snow if there is any.
Yeah.
Right.
Making cookies together, watching a holiday movie, things like that. Those are the memories that they're actually going to
True.
Yeah.
make.
Bears repeating. We all forget it. I do.
Yep.
One thing I find that's interesting as we're talking about how to deal with stress in these events is when a shift happens. We're just talking about gaps in ages of kids. Maybe the matriarch is no longer hosting and is now, even maybe through a ceremony of some sort, passed along the torch to the next generation, right? So traditions change. Sometimes somebody's like forcing it. So if you've seen that kind of dynamic and have helped families through that, what are the struggles that come with a transition in eliminating traditions, shifting them? Or is it just really easy to do and everybody should just try it?
definitely not easy to do.
Okay. So this is a bigger.
Shift a
Your response is
transition.
like, "Wow, this is a big question." So I get it.
Yeah.
What are some of the top challenges that come up when you want to shift a tradition? Maybe remove it altogether and change it with something else.
So
Some
I
people have
know-
success with it, or some
Yeah.
families. So
Yeah.
So I know a lot of the families in our communities may not be from Northern Michigan, and their family may be too far away for them to do holidays with them every time. So just taking that and creating your own traditions, new traditions. While I know there's a lot of nostalgia in keeping those old traditions alive, you can always bring those with you and start them over. So maybe instead of baking cookies with your grandmother and the entire family every year, you can do that with just your family.
Yeah.
Or just you and your child, if that's what you want to do. But I would say just
and on the heels of a really adaptive time like COVID, and not to sound corny, but their technology has come a long way. Even with videos you can make for the holidays, people can come and record messages, do their annual holiday letter in a studio as a podcast. So embracing some of the, does it merit asking kids, what do you all like? What do you want to do? Or is that just a
I think
ridiculous
it does.
question?
We do a lot of that in our classrooms is giving choices and asking the children what they want to do. And it may be that they want to color and make all of their Christmas letters this year instead of spending the money to buy them off Shutterfly or whatever you're going to use.
Yeah.
Right.
So if the budget is tight, maybe involve your family, involve your children in those new things and have them help you color them, or I don't know.
Yeah.
and,
I
and
love
when,
that.
when sometimes traditions forcibly change, if parents can't afford that monster gift, maybe this year the gift is something less tangible, which can be tough. I remember when we changed, it was a trip. And there wasn't really a gift. We just gave a letter. And the kids presupposed that money was tough, so this year's gift was just love. And I love the fact that they were okay with the fact it was a trip, but that could have been really stressful. If all right, we really don't have anything. The gift this year is just, our meal and our time together.
Yeah, and to families that are struggling to provide those things, we do have a lot of community resources that can help with small gifts, because I know that it is really stressful as a parent when it's Christmas Day and you don't have anything under your tree or in your living room. So I know that in the North, we have a couple different places that will help with gift assistance or holiday meal assistance. And generally, it's a little bit late now for those resources. But as a family engagement specialist, that's one of the things that we really try to help with if there is a need for it in our classrooms, and we send out those applications across the board to everyone.
Yeah, and
whether
I think-
we know that they may need it or whether they aren't interested, we still send it out.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly where you can find all of those things, but I know that a lot of times they're promoted on like radio shows and, even maybe in the news. But obviously, like the different community resources, I'm sure we have some flyers and things like that, maybe even in our offices.
We do in our offices.
So-
At least I know in Petoskey we do.
Okay.
You can call up there, and I know Megan has
Yeah.
them sitting right outside of her desk ready
Yeah,
to go.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In gifts, it's never going to not be a part of a holiday like upcoming, but redefining what a gift is. And I don't usually throw a lot of personal stuff in, but having older kids, experiences are a gift. But I wish we would have started experiences way before we did. And it doesn't take much to articulate that this time together is a gift.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be about tearing paper.
Yeah.
Because it's a tangible thing, and that when you boil it down and you ask kids what are important, but we wish we would have started articulating, more than just a toy as a gift,
Yeah.
just as a concept.
Yeah, and that can really help the budget too. If your experience is, let's all go sledding this weekend
Yeah.
Yeah.
and go spend a day and have hot chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids crave that time, especially one-on-one time. So
Yeah.
if you can make it a special one-on-one
Right,
experience
right.
too,
True,
that's even better.
And sometimes those are the best gifts. Looking forward, you
Yeah.
look back like, remember that one thing we didn't spend any money on?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So we talked a little bit about transitions, and I remember a transition period when I was probably like college age, so like 20-ish, when you're growing into adulthood and things are no longer as they were when you were a child. Like maybe your siblings are often married now, or your parents aren't really doing a traditional Christmas anymore, even though you still live at home. The magic of Christmas feels lost. Is there any tips that you have maybe for those late teen, early 20s that maybe just feel like,
Yeah.
like how do we still feel holiday magic
Or
in
just
that time?
become ambivalent to it, like, because you could get really sour on the
Yeah, I
holidays
remember
too.
being that way when I was in college and
Yeah.
just
Sure.
Yeah.
kind of losing that. I didn't
was
really
like-
want to go back home.
Yeah, it's like it doesn't feel the same. I don't even want to do it.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
would do it, but it just didn't feel like it did when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I would say to just be involved in your community, either with your own family if you have kids, but those who don't have kids, get involved in the community.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of local churches that do Christmas meals or holiday meals for the community.
Yeah.
And they can always use volunteers. The same with winter coat drives and things like that to just kind of get yourself something to look forward to, something
Yeah.
to feel good about.
Yeah, I love that answer. I was not
Yeah.
sure where that would go because
Good
I really was like, I do remember, as I was preparing for today, I was like, gosh, I really remember being kind of sour, like you said, like
Yeah.
I hated like my siblings were married and
Especially
they're doing
around
their
that
own
time,
thing,
I was
and I'm
poor. Like I
yeah,
definitely, I was
I
the
was,
poorest I ever
poor
was.
college kid, yeah,
So like I hated it even more.
yeah, like I
'cause-
can't even go do anything.
and it's just easier to not do anything.
Yeah.
And to your point, not to reinforce, but it happens, those negative family influences for people who have that in their lives, that's a great place to put your energy. If you want to
Yeah.
feel the spirit, give.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And volunteer time, community engagement. It doesn't have to be volunteer
and
engagement, but like
it's free to give your time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You may not be able to buy gifts for everyone in your family. I know I couldn't when I was in college.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And that kind of made me feel like
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
me
I
too.
wasn't doing what I should be doing.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
if you can find to give somewhere else.
Yeah.
So local churches are a good place. Salvation Army is always
And
good.
NMCAA is
NMCAA, I
also
was
always
gonna
looking
say,
for
right?
volunteers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, always. You can check out that on the website. So I'm going to ask you to pardon my interruption because we are going to call out some milestone career achievements. In December, we are celebrating with Amy Hoffman with us for 15 years and also Rebecca Schichtel with us for 15 years. Thank you both so much for all of your hard work and everything you do to support your community and your neighbors.
That is amazing. I love that segment. 15 years.
15.
It's a long time.
It is.
Let's jump back into this topic, and this may be the tougher question of this session.
Oh.
And this is when everybody's going to want to lean in, as we talked about the aunt who's scoping your potentially not clean floors. But in earnest, how do you recommend handling difficult family members? This is a time where I think uncomfortable topics, they're always going to come up, but what comes up as you're working with families through these situations is great tools for dealing with individual or full family members, full families who are difficult.
When dealing with family members that can cause you a lot of stress, I would say boundaries are number one.
And that is a pretty interesting way to use no, because you don't need a reason. They're family, so they should understand. That's maybe somebody to practice those little no's on
Yeah.
while still trying
Yeah.
to engage
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no is still communicating. Avoiding topics. What are your thoughts about that? Because, a lot of people will have some fun with things. No, talk about this year. No, talk about sports because my team lost. No, talk about politics. Does that come up as successful or not at all?
In some family dynamics, I'm sure that is successful, and I'm sure in others it's not. I would say you'd have to do what's best for your family, and if avoiding a hard topic is what works for you, then definitely do that.
Maybe it's, sorry to interrupt, but maybe it's like redirecting the conversation just like you would with a toddler, right? Like they want to do this one thing and they just keep pushing to do this one thing. And you're like, well, actually, let's do this instead. So maybe you just redirect that topic to something else and it becomes, it's how saying a no without saying no, right?
Yes.
And kind of just moving things.
I also find that, and this may be being married to a teacher or having things to do, like activities or games,
less time for talking.
I guess, but like if you can have some fun games to play, and like now with the brilliance of like board games and it's a whole wonderful industry. I found that just having some fun options and things to do can get people thinking about other stuff and being like, oh, you are fun to hang out with. That's right.
Yeah. Keep the mind busy, right?
Exactly.
So being in the age group that I am in now, I'm on a lot of mom Facebook groups, things. So I have young children. And so people who have young families, they often are traveling around to different houses for different gatherings. Maybe they miss a kiddo's nap or something. Kiddo gets cranky.
Do they? How about that? Yeah.
They don't take as long a nap as they normally do, or they get just that 15-minute, nap car ride. Other people are overwhelmed by the situation. Everyone's crying in a bad mood. Do you have any advice for those particular situations, or do we just avoid them completely?
Yeah. So there are some things that you can do. And I think the biggest one is keeping a routine and stability where you can. You can't always help them take a longer car nap.
Yeah.
But you can make sure that you have their snack that they usually like to have after their nap, or their favorite toy with them. Just things that kind of keep that structure and keep them comfortable, even if you're not in your home or if you're on the road or...
That's a good point. Because sometimes maybe if you're not going to get the nap in, people will just abandon the whole routine in favor of like this, all right, we're going to try something.
Yeah.
But keep the things in place that you can control. That's a really good point.
That's a great piece of advice.
Does that resonate with you when you think about those little things?
Now that I kind of think about it, I don't know if I've ever intentionally did those things, but the baby needs a bottle when they wake up from their nap kind of thing. Yeah, for sure.
Just keeping things in place where you can control.
Yeah.
And when you fall down, because here you are, I'm sure you face struggles too. How high do you rank giving yourself some grace, giving yourself some patience?
Very, very high.
Okay, so what's, aside from taking a breath, does it make sense to even verbalize it? If you have a partner in the situation or whatnot, just be like, let's give ourselves a moment here.
Yeah, or tag teaming that moment.
Right.
So if you have a partner in it, looking at them and saying, I need 5 minutes. And then when
just
you
a
get
fiver.
back from your 5 minutes,
Yeah.
they can take their 5 minutes, and just having that little bit of reset time to decompress and to put your focus back on what you need to do.
Yeah. And maybe even drawing a line if you've been at this holiday party and it's still not over, but you've got to go because your kiddos are just done.
Yeah.
You pack up and you go and say, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, and that could be part of that, keeping that structure too.
Yeah.
If your child's bedtime is 7:00, but this party goes until 9.
Yeah.
You may have to say, I'm sorry, and leave.
Yeah. I remember, not on air, but Ryan, you shared with me that you, when your children were younger, you were very strict about bedtimes. Was that something that you would do?
Yeah.
Be like, I'm so sorry. Oh, I'm out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I had a son, and still do, who just goes to sleep. He's done. He doesn't party.
I'm out.
He will sleep where he's at.
Oh, gosh.
Like mid-conversation on a couch, in a restaurant. If it's past his bedtime, he's like, goodbye. And he will go to sleep.
Funny.
So we were fortunate there, but reinforcing those. And your point is really keeping those things, especially when you're traveling, because you don't want to assume that traveling is exciting for all kids. Some of them may. So they're in a new house, even though they're at grandma's maybe once a year. There's still new smells. There's still a dog that they're not comfortable with. So
advocating for yourself and your kids
and
family.
Those structures that you've created to help.
Yeah, just like with the holidays, like the beginning of the year for school, there's a lot of changes, and we really push routine.
Right.
And so just trying to keep that.
So,
through the
Abbie, there
holidays.
is a harder hitting question at the end, but I'm going to impromptu one right now because I think there's a lot can be said for laughter. A lot can be said for diffusing situations. So what's the best holiday movie to diffuse a situation? Like, shut up, right now we're going to watch this, in your opinion?
In my opinion, the best Christmas movie?
No, just holiday movie
holiday
or
movie?
Christmas to diffuse the situation. You're going to shut everybody up. We're going to put this on right now. What's, in your opinion, what's the go-to?
In my household, we watched A Christmas Story on repeat because it was on TBS for 24 hours, and it was on for like the full 24 hours.
Do you drink your Ovaltine while you're watching it? So that's one. That's one, like, that can do it. Everybody can and we can put A Christmas Story on and have a laugh. All right. I love that one. That's one that I always kind of forget about because it's so iconic, and I typically forget the iconic one. So I need to watch that way more.
Yeah, and that's
because it's hilarious. There's a lot of good laughs in that.
Little things that I remember. I don't remember any toys I got.
Yeah.
When I was a kid on Christmas, but I do remember that every year we watch A Christmas Story, and that
and I don't say
I
say fragile anytime I say fragile. So now, Erica, can you remind our listeners who might be interested in learning more about programs NMCAA offers? How can they do that?
Absolutely. So nmcaa.net is our website. You can go there, find out more about all of our programs. You can also follow all of our social media accounts. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, basically you name it.
That is awesome.
And also continuing to listen to our podcast. This is a great start. You can also always call 231-947-3780, which is our main number at our Traverse City office, if you want to get in touch with somebody about one of our programs.
In Child and Family Development, is there its own section? Because the new website is way easier to navigate. What's the best place to go to catch all the good news where you are, Abbie?
To find our application and to apply, you can just go right to our website and go to the Head Start or the Early Head Start section. There's a spot on it that says like start here, I think.
Yeah, it's like check for the interest form.
The interest form, and it will have a blue box on it, I'm pretty sure. You just click that, it'll take you right to the application, and that is for all 10 counties, Head Start and Early Head Start, and our collaborative centers.
And GSRP. Yes.
Oh, yeah, good reminder.
So that is the one-stop shop for any type of early childhood development.
And anybody can go check that out. Connection to the internet is required, apparently. All right, the time has come. This is that aforementioned hard-hitting question that we save for the end.
Okay.
Now you can. Now you're hopefully engaged in the process and you can't leave. So, Abbie, if you had one wish, unlimited wish for child and family development at NMCAA, what would it be and why?
An unlimited wish? Gosh.
It can also be practical, but if you had a wish.
I would think just a continuation of more community resources, housing especially, really just all of the connections. We need more of them. We have a lot of resources in our 10 counties, but it still seems to not be enough. We have a lot of transportation needs, a lot of housing needs, a lot of child development needs, and we just don't seem to have enough resources that can actually help.
Not happy to hear you say that, but I am happy to hear you recognize that those are big needs too, because we hear that at the agency level from all the departments: transportation, housing, utility assistance, all of those things.
Yeah, well, we work hand in hand with all of those programs. We refer our families to those programs consistently.
Yeah. We love those wraparound services.
Yes.
Well, Abbie, thank you so much for joining us today. It was nice to have you here. It's also nice to feel like you're not the only one battling holiday stress and be able to get some insight on how to embrace the magic of the season. So, Ryan, it is your time. Take it away.
Well, Abbie, this was exceptional, and I think a lot of people who listen to this are gonna get some different perspectives. I definitely have, and a big one that I'm gonna take away from this is to recognize and acknowledge what you are doing. Having those boundaries, and I would say, try to not let what social media tells you what you should be doing, but recognize and acknowledge what you are doing. And be capable of doing those things, and try not to extend past that, even if that is your want to do. And remember what really, really, truly matters.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that take, by the way. So let's do a couple reminders before we wrap up today. If you or someone you know is homeless, please call our intake number 1-844-900-0500. As mentioned, NMCAA is always accepting interest forms for child and family development. Programs include Head Start, GSRP, Early Head Start. Go to nmcaa.net to fill out an interest form today.
NMCAA is currently seeking volunteers for the free tax prep program. To learn more about that, contact NMCAA by calling 231-947-3780.
If you enjoyed today's podcast, please share the episode or show link on social media. Follow the podcast to know when a new episode drops and rate our show. It truly helps us continue to get the word out on all the good NMCAA does in the community.
If you would like to become a sustaining donor with a recurring gift or contribute a one-time donation, please check out nmcaa.net/donate or send us a message at collectiveuspodcast@nmcaa.net.
And to learn more about Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency or the programs we offer, or would like to make a donation, we encourage you to reach out at 231-947-3780 or visit our website, nmcaa.net. And to the collective today, we encourage you to continue to strive each day to do something to help yourself or your neighbors.